So, but if you are arrested, what are your rights at that point?
Well, and that goes to the TV shows, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford one, then one will be appointed to you. But again, that right to an attorney, if you can't afford an attorney, and you want an attorney present, they're not going to give you one at the station. They'll give you one once your court case starts. So people assume if they say, I want an attorney, and one doesn't show up, they think their rights have been violated. It's not necessarily the case. Another problem is sometimes when they're being questioned, a suspect will say, oh, maybe I should have an attorney. Do you think I should have an attorney? I don't know if I should have an attorney. Courts have seen that as being kind of ambiguous or unequivocal. So that is not saying, I want an attorney, I do not want to answer any more questions without the presence of attorney, and police can continue to question them.
So my rights, if I'm arrested, are to have an attorney, but I have to take the steps
Yes.
to make that happen.
Yes, and most police departments will have a waiver of rights form. And it's hard because if you're under that kind of pressure of being in police custody, you might not understand what they're telling you, but they will. They go over it with you, and you're supposed to initial beside each paragraph and say that you're giving up your rights. If you do waive your rights and then 5 minutes into it say, oh, geez, I don't think I should be talking to them anymore, you can invoke it at any point. But again, you have to do so clearly.
Okay. I think the last question in this line of this kind of progression of experiences with the police. So you have a conversation with the police, probably at their place at the station, and they write it up and ask you to sign something. Should you sign? You read it and say, oh yeah, that's what I said, sign it. No attorney, but
Again, even speaking to them without an attorney isn't really advised. Just because say you are being charged with a crime, anything you tell them, even if it's not in writing, even if you didn't sign the paper, they can later go to court and say, yes, the suspect told us, X, Y, and Z. So it's essentially the same thing as a written statement. So I certainly wouldn't suggest even talking to the police without an attorney present. But if you are going to sign some sort of written statement, definitely make sure that everything that's in it is accurate as to what you told them before you sign it.
And if I want that, I have the right to an attorney once we start talking. They're required to let me call my attorney?
Yes, within, I believe, 1 hour of being brought to the station.
Okay.
Yep.
Can they talk to me during that hour? Can they have conversation with me?
Again, if you have said, I want an attorney, I don't want to speak without an attorney present, then they cannot continue questioning you until your attorney arrives.
And anything I might say then isn't useful to them?
Well,
Once
right.
I've said
It
that.
wouldn't be admissible if they continued to question you.
Right.
But say you had gotten to the station, they hadn't really started to ask you any questions, and you start offering up statements, just because they haven't read your rights doesn't mean that they can't use those statements against you.